Okay, it's Mike back again with the Center for Nonprofit and Community Development. So we are national in terms of what we do. Tonight, we're in Tampa, Florida. We're going to meet a person tonight that's doing a lot of dynamic things in the state of Florida. I think you want to hear about it. You know I talk too much, so I'm going to give it over to the sister. And I love powerful sisters, sisters that are in control of things. My sister, take it away from there.
I don't know about being in control of things, but I'm very strategic, right, about my next steps. So I'm Ashley Foxworth. I am from Tampa, Florida. I was born in Alachua County, but raised in Tampa, Florida. I am the CEO of the Educational Equalizers LLC, and my mission is threefold. I want to impact students, I want to impact parents, and I want to impact teachers. So I have an educational consulting firm where I push into schools. I provide teachers with breakfast. I provide students with academic coaching and academic support. I provide parents with assistance for advocating for their children. And I provide teachers with professional development and training, and also just advocacy. So when they run into different issues and do not know how to move forward, I'm able to help guide them so that we can all create change and bridge the learning gap for our students.
Hillsborough County School, just like schools throughout the nation, especially African-American schools, have all kind of obstacles and things of that nature. Our kids are not doing well in general. And people generally feel that they have failed them. Sounds like one of the things your service brings to the table is to level the playing field.
Absolutely.
In that particular respect. And that's why it becomes a national focus, that what you're doing in Hillsborough County can be applied to Baltimore, New York, Chicago, any school that's in the city in which our kids are failing. That being said, tell us about the state of affairs in Hillsborough County with the Hillsborough County public school system from your perspective, both from a teacher that was on that end and from a consultant.
Well, I didn't start off wanting to be a teacher. Actually, when I was younger, I told my teachers that I was going to be the first female president of the United States, right? So through my educational journey as a Hillsborough County public school student, I just saw different things. I went to various schools around the district, and what I noticed was sometimes when I had a educator that was not of color, they embraced me, and sometimes they were threatened by me. This is for my educators of color as well. In certain spaces, they embraced me. In certain spaces, they were threatened or challenged by me, right? So as I grew up in Tampa and went through Hillsborough County Public Schools, it just kept being something that was just whispering to me that I needed to go into education. So I went to Bethune-Cookman University. I majored in elementary education. I came home. I went back into Hillsborough County Public Schools as an educator at Clemmy Ross James Elementary. I was there from 2009 up until 2017. I took a professional leave of absence to go and teach for the Abu Dhabi Education Council, where I was in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates, for a year, teaching grade 4 students, males specifically. Then I returned home because my son got sick. I went back into Hillsborough County Public Schools, and I taught there, where I ended my term as a teacher, well, actually as a media specialist in 2021. So when we talk about just a full circle investment into education in Hillsborough County, that is me. I had family in West Tampa and in East Tampa, so I got perspectives of different schools all over the district. When we talk about just the plight of Black students in our county, this has been for years. You're from West Tampa, so you know, when they closed the school, how that impacted a community, or when they opened up another one, the hope that it gave. I think about Meacham and the powerhouse of an early learning coalition that was for those kids in that area. When it closed, our community felt that hit, So I now, as an educator, am charged with the task to make sure all the kids in Hillsborough County have that Meacham experience, regardless of their age. I am on the NAACP as an education chair, but I'm also Mr. Washington's Citizens Advisory Council rep. I do not take my job lightly, because being that I'm a graduate from Bethune-Cookman University, Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune gave us a charge. She left us a thirst for education. She knew that education is something that once you attain it, it could never be taken away. And now our state, our district has certain policies that if we do not fight, if we do not stand on the good side of what's best for students, our rights and our liberties to progress in the area of education are threatened. So I am really passionate about being a voice to make sure children can succeed and thrive in a public educational space, because I don't feel that we should have to pay to play, right? Every child that breathes on this earth should have an opportunity to thrive in an educational space. So it's really, really important to me in Hillsborough County and nationwide that we get this right.
Now, Hillsborough County is one of the largest school districts in Florida, United States. Is that correct?
Yes, we are the 7th largest, I believe. We might have moved up 1 or 2 notches, but last time I checked, I think we were the seventh largest district in the state. Miami-Dade is larger than us.
So let me ask you a question. You did state that you at one point you did was attending Hillsborough County schools back in the day. If you can compare back in the day to the current school system the way it is, give me what you think of the good and the bad.
So when I started fresh out of college in 2009, and I really say 2008 because as an educator, you do an internship the year before you graduate. So I was in Volusia County Public Schools where I taught at, I can't even think of the name. I believe it was Westside Elementary, but I'm so sad if I mistaken where I was. There was just because Bethune-Cookman was in that community, there was a thirst for learning. There was a thirst for teaching. There was a thirst for being an educational resource to the students in Volusia County Public Schools. It was a different climate, and it was one where, you know, teachers were willing to just go above and beyond to meet the needs of students, regardless of their socioeconomic status, regardless of their zip code, right? They just wanted all kids to thrive. When I got to Hillsborough County, I felt that same thing, especially being that I had family from East Tampa, Northview Hills specifically. So I targeted James as a community school because I walked the streets of Williams Park. I went to Williams Middle School and I graduated from Armwood High School. So I wanted to be intentional about where I planted my seeds. I wanted to come back and give back to the people that gave to me. And with the leadership of Patricia Larry Royal and Dr. Lana Tate, I just was able to grow and learn all of the different nuances of education to be able to support students. I was able to gain knowledge in the single gender arena because I taught single gender boys for years. Back in the day, we had a single gender institute where we specifically had different educational sites in Hillsborough County that targeted boy classes and girl classes. We still have Franklin and we still have girls preparatory. Well, when I was teaching originally, James Elementary was a single gender elementary school. We had K through 5 classes where you could have a co-ed option where boys and girls were together, but you also had single gender boys and single gender girls. So during my time there, I learned strategically how to connect and engage Black males, just so that they had a stake in their own education. And that really, really, it gave me a charge because people love to say, and when I say people, I just say the general public or people who are on the outside of the educational field. They would love to say what Black boys can't do. And I've always been one to just say, when people tell you you can't do something, go about your business to show them that you can. So I strategically taught boy classes for years at James Elementary because they were low, you know, as far as the literacy rate, they were low coming in because they didn't have the Meacham, right, to give them those early learning literacy skills that they needed. And it warmed my heart to always start from the bottom, but by the end of the year, be able to show so much student learning and growth. Because of administrative changes and changes with the superintendent and district leadership, a lot of those programs phased out. And that's one thing that has been my frustration with this district. We start some really good things. We start some really good things in community schools, but when administration changes and when one person leaves the district and goes somewhere else, it's like those programs just fall flat. one thing we all know as just people, kids need structure, they need consistency, they need resources, and they need any additional support that they are going to need in order to thrive. And when I say additional support, they need their needs met before their wants and their desires can be met. So when you're talking about supporting a community school or supporting a public education system, you can't teach a baby if they're hungry. You can't teach a baby if they have no place to stay. You can't teach a child if they don't feel safe. And until our district really takes an intentional approach at looking at those barriers that our Black and brown students face, we're always going to do a disservice to them.
So before we go to the next question, as I stated earlier, I have a national audience from around the country. If somebody wants to donate to your organization, first of all, let me make sure, let me back up for 1 second. Are you a 501c3 or are you private sector?
So right now I am a small LLC. I'm a sole proprietor of my LLC. I started my LLC December 14th of 2022. I was actually supposed to return to Hillsborough County Public Schools and go back into my position as a media specialist, but God just kept telling me I have greater for you. So that's how the Educational Equalizers was finally birthed and started in Hillsborough County.
Well, if someone wanted to contribute to your dream, how could they contribute in terms of dollar bills? Do you have an email?
I do. I have, my email address is Ash Foxworth, so the first three initials of Ashley, ASH, Foxworth at gmail.com. I have Cash App. I'm a Bethune-Cookman graduate, so it's BCU Educator with the $ in front. I also have PayPal, which is through, it's a card, but it's also an account that's tied to that account, and I'm just Educational Equalizers on PayPal.
Now, what made you choose for-profit as opposed to nonprofit?
So, it's not really that I'm trying to make a profit, but we do need monetary funds to move forward. So I cannot do this alone. When I'm doing my educational consulting, I am using my vehicle, which needs gas. When I'm going to do professional development, I am using different things that teachers need. I do go to different teacher stores and buy the teachers that I'm coaching, different resources that I have them utilize. Because one thing I'm not about is showing somebody something, but then not giving them the tools to be successful with what I've shown them. So when I charge the $25 fee for my tutoring, one, I think $25 is affordable. Anybody has $25 today is like $5 20 years ago. I really just try to be affordable to where I can do a quick dollar amount that people can tangibly get to and get some kind of service from.
So the reason why I'm saying that is because I actually work with nonprofits that are 501c3 to do exactly what you do.
Okay.
You know, grant, don't you know that's over probably about $1 trillion+ nonprofits that provide the education. Based on what you were saying in your history, you would be a big plus. And instead of charging those students, how much you charge them?
I can't hear you.
How much do you charge per student?
So it's $25 for an hour of tutoring.
Probably about $700 per student.
Absolutely.
So it does take you to the next step. And if you ever decide you want to go that nonprofit way, definitely hook up with me. Because I have some nonprofits started with almost nothing, and now they're making big money. Education is the key today. Here's the bottom line, and then I'll go back to the question.
Okay.
When it comes to Black schools, there are so many deficits. We know a poor education leads to crime, leads to substance abuse, it leads to all those things. That's why as a nonprofit, so many people would be willing to give money. Now, the only reason why I'm asking you to be a nonprofit, because you got what it takes. If you didn't have a background, people wake up one day and they say, I want to go start a nonprofit and I want to do education. And I said, well, what do you bring to the table? Because you have to have something to fall back in. People invest in track history. So if you got to track history and you're saying to that funder, look, this is what I did with almost nothing. Imagine the capacity that I could do with something. Even the county system, the Hillsborough County system will probably bring you on by way of a grant 501c3. But we can talk about that at a later time.
Yes, sir.
I enjoy, and you're the second person I talked to today. I enjoy talking to strong Black females.
I appreciate your
especially
kindness.
intellectual Black females, because it's this projection when it comes to Black female. You know, that people have a negative image. That's why I bring around the country. I bring the most powerful, articulate, critical thinkers and strategic planning. So that being said, let me go to the next question. You know, it's going to be a change in terms of the district. Say it's going to be changing the district and things of that nature. What's your take on that?
Are you referring specifically to the school boundaries?
Yeah, the boundaries, exactly.
Okay.
See,
so I've been a huge...
I told you were an intellectual and critical thinker, right? So go ahead, give me your thoughts on that.
Just like I've said before, I've been a little bit, some people have said boisterous or arrogant on my position when it comes to Hillsborough County Public Schools boundaries. This isn't nothing
that's why
that's new or unfamiliar.
That's why I love it, because I see how you carry.
Absolutely.
You got that knock the door down type of attitude, right? This my way, either you agree or you don't, but I will be heard. So I had to throw that in there.
Absolutely.
Don't know about
Absolutely.
So I'm sorry.
We've been quiet for far too long, and that's where I am with it. We've been quiet for far too long. As a student in Hillsborough County, I remember being shifted from Palm River Elementary to ELB. As a student in Hillsborough County, I can remember the shift when Middleton opened and they took kids from Armwood and they took kids from King to get Middleton started. So I understand the impacts of those shifts, right? Because when you move a child to a new school, especially if you're moving them out of their community, they're losing some of their core resources. So when we talk about a community raising kids, if grandma and grandpa can't get the kid to school, that's a loss for the child. Right. If that student doesn't have, the support that they had at one site, at another, that's a loss for the child. So I'm not just wanting to see our kids have special rights and privileges in this district. I'm wanting to ensure that when parents come to the table to say, hey, this is the educational trajectory that I have for my child, I want them to be able to attain it by being able to have access to this school and this school and this school, not because of a lottery, not because of who I know or what my zip code is, but because my child is a child. Exactly. And because my child deserves the best educational whatever, whether that is a program, whether that is a magnet attractor that site like Dunbar and their medical program. If my child resides in Hillsborough County and my child says I want to be an astronaut, I, as a parent, should be able to go down the list of the however many schools are in this district and say, hey, this school is a perfect fit for my child. Where do I sign up?
So like schools throughout the nation, when it comes to Black kids are failing. That is, the schools are failing. Give me your perspective as to why are we failing Black kids as an educational system?
You love to give me some loaded questions, but I'm able to handle it. I think
people that listen to this right here, that's the question they like to hear.
Okay. I think that it's not just our district that's failing our kids. We have to remember our country's systems and how they were built. We were never supposed to be in school. We were never supposed to be reading or writing. We were never supposed to be obtaining degrees. So until we actually come to the table with a historical perspective of America's educational system and the many barriers that they put before us, remember in the 60s and before then, we were digging in dumpsters to get books. We were walking to school while others rode the bus. So there's always been a barrier. There's always been a goalpost that they've continued to move. So until we actually humble ourselves as a whole community, a whole nation, and talk about the disservice that we've done to Black and brown people that was intentional, we can't have a true conversation about how to move forward. Because when we have a governor that is strategically telling us that our history does not deserve to be put in front of children.
1 second, could you share with the nation what you're talking about? They might not understand what you're saying related to
Okay.
So give them give them the heads up as to what you're saying. What about to happen in terms of that?
So our governor has signed several pieces of legislation and been very outward about his attack on African Americans and their place in our history and in our public schools. He has stated that Florida is a place where woke goes to die, meaning that anybody who's aware of their roots and anybody who is proud of their heritage and wants people to know about their history in regards to African Americans and Afro-Latinas, even I'll say the history of gays in Florida or around the country, that's not what he wants our public schools to be about. He feels that that is indoctrination of our students and that it should not be content that is presented before him. So he's signed into legislation, HB 1, basically expanding private school vouchers to anyone, which would basically cause the public education system that we know in the state of Florida to crumble, because we are already at a huge deficit when it comes to educational resources for public schools. Our district in Hillsborough County is in a huge financial deficit, and we're already scrambling to pay teachers and to provide students with just adequate educational resources. So if this is to go into action with our governor being behind it, this will literally be a pay-for-play situation where unless you had the dollar amount, say that is $30,000 a year to attend a quality public or a private institution, you are going to be in a deficit. Your child will not have the necessary tools, the necessary building or educational structures to thrive in the state of Florida and in Hillsborough County.
Now that is so true. So let me ask you a question. When you was talking, the question was coming, and now it seemed like it's going over. Yeah, now I know what it is. Are parents doing what they need to do to assure our kids, Black parents, are they doing what they should do in order to assure our kids are successful?
Listen, I'm gonna have to take a nap after this interview because you're really getting to the core of it, and I appreciate you because that's another loaded and intentional question. You know how the Bible says, when I was a child, I thought like a child. Our Black parents, and I'm saying this out of love because a lot of times Black parents hear from teachers and they think, oh, you don't know my struggle. I'm a single parent. And before I was a parent, I had a different perspective. But now that I have a first grader, I see the bigger picture. Parents are the first teachers. Parents are the hugest advocates. Parents are the best tool that a child has to have an educational trajectory that is going to propel them into whatever it is they desire to be. If we do not, with intentionality, make sure that education is a priority for our Black and brown babies, there is no hope for them. And we don't even have to look at what DeSantis is doing. If we are not intentional about ensuring that kids get to school on time and that in your household, education is a major priority for you to obtain generational wealth and for you to beat the odds, because you come out with odds against you when your skin is a certain tone. We are doing a disservice to our children if we do not plan and prepare for our kids to thrive in their educational spaces before they ever put a pen or pencil to a paper. We have done them an injustice.
Question: what about the community? Is the community stepping up?
I think they're doing what they can, but I was just talking on my personal live a couple minutes ago that we have to go back to the days of old, and we really have to look at what some of our ancestors did during the Montgomery bus boycott. We have to look at what some of our ancestors did when they laid the groundwork in the civil rights movement, because we can't just keep talking. We can't just keep meeting. We have to put some actionable, tangible steps with timelines and finite dates to make things shift and to agitate or disrupt the current things that are going on. If we just continue to meet and we just continue to rant and we just continue to march and vent without pulling our dollars or without going to the school board meeting to agitate and make sure our voices are heard and our demands are not only heard but noted,
Yeah.
and a response occurs.
Yeah.
We're just doing just to do. We're just doing just to do.
As a matter of fact, I listened to you on your live when you were saying that's what you're saying now. Let me ask you a question on a more serious note. Why are kids killing kids?
Ooh, that's loaded. I think that is post-traumatic slavery disorder.
Mm-hmm.
You have to remember when we were on the plantation, they were putting us up against each other. Mm-hmm. We don't have chains, but they still putting us up against each other. Talk about kids killing kids. Again, when we're quiet and we need something, and when we're quiet and our stomachs are hungry, and when we're quiet and we don't have places to live because of these new luxury housing developments, right? When we're quiet and our basic needs are not being met, I think it was Tupac who says we're going to start off soft, asking, sir, can I have $1? Sir, can you give me a quarter? Sir, can you give me a dime or a penny? But that's going to then shift to, I'm getting ready to pull this gun out and take whatever I can take because I don't have another choice.
Excellent.
So I think we really have to look at that holistic perspective and not say that we are forcing Black kids to kill each other, but look at what environments they're put in to where they feel the need to take each other's lives. Okay,
so here's the last question. Where's that question at? Why is there a high rate of dropouts among African American kids?
I couldn't hear you.
Why is there a high rate of dropouts among American kids?
I want to say that it's intentional, and I don't keep wanting to say that it's systematic, but our kids have a lot more barriers getting to graduation than our counterparts. Our kids are being raised by grandparents. Our kids are in public schools that lack resources. Our kids are working jobs while they're trying to be. Our kids are stripped of their childhoods oftentimes because of life's happenstances. So when we look at the dropout rate, we need to be really intentional on looking at those factors, those barriers, those things that keep our kids from truly being able to thrive in education. And then we'll have the answer to why our dropout rate is so high. So I really feel like if our communities were more supported and our kids were more supported, we would have more.
Honestly, I promise this is going to be my last question. Why do you do what you do? You can be in corporate America, making all kinds of money. What drives you? What motivates you to do what you do?
I always had a fire for education. I always had a fire to create change. I always had a fire to kind of agitate and shake things up. One of the main reasons I do what I do is because of the 7-year-old son that I have, Tristan. He deserves the best. I feel that God placed me on this earth to ensure that he was able to meet his fullest potential. I think my time at Bethune-Cookman University and just following the history of the greatest, one of the greatest educators, Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, just inspired me. Her story is amazing about how she founded a whole institution using $1.50. If that did not give me a charge to just get into the community and to give it all I have, I don't know what to tell you. Clemmy Ross, who's in Tampa, Miss Terry, she was another amazing educator that just impacted and continued to push through regardless of the barriers or happenstances. Even Blanche Armwood, I went to Armwood High School. She was another powerhouse. And I just think following and standing on the shoulders of those women is why I continue to get up and just push the envelope when it comes to our Black and brown babies.
Talk to me about your son. As a matter of fact, sometimes you come online and you and him be going at it. And I be following that too. I said she can do her own show. Because we had to speak his mind, right? Yeah, so that's really
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
I do follow you in that particular respect. Look, I know it's late. I know you had a million other things that you could have done this evening. I want to thank you for sharing your thoughts related to a very serious subject in our society, which is education. I hope you have enlightened people, and I hope there's something I hope the one thing that people take away tonight is that you have to stand up and do something. Whether you're a parent, a teacher, you have to stand up and
Absolutely.
do something. And happy Black Women History Month. Although I know it's supposed to be woman, but anyway, happy Black
Thank you.
yeah, and look, keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to hit you back related to the nonprofit thing, because I think it's time for you to make some money.
Thank you.
Definitely, quick, fast, and in the hard.
Yes, sir.
You will be getting some money.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you.
Now,
I
I
appreciate
appreciate
you.
you and what you do. Anything
I
you
appreciate
say
you. Your
before we
work is
leave.
not going unnoticed either.
Thank you so much. You know why? Because look, we have to do what we do
I
because
couldn't hear you.
I was saying we have to do what we do because nobody else is going to do it for us. It takes strong Black people to step out and change the narrative. So
Absolutely.
look, I'm going to get back with the
Absolutely.
nonprofit thing. Thanks again and have a good one. And be safe, because I know you seem like you're in a car or something.
You too. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks again. Thank you.